The roll call.
Gunther.
Here.
James.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Rhodes.
Here.
Simmons.
Here.
We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, did you get Carrie Underwood to sing Oh Beautiful for the meeting today?
I didn't ask,
Oh.
but
Did you hear her sing? Beautiful voice.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Mark, are there changes on the agenda?
10A is off for this evening, and we're targeting our next meeting to have that on our agenda. And we have replacement resolutions for C and D that should be at your table.
Thank you. Other changes? We have the minutes from the last meeting Karen had out for us. Do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes of the January 6th meeting?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Additions, corrections? Anyone? All those in favor of those minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. There are no special orders. Study session is Commissioner Karen Simmons regarding city manager's evaluation.
All right. I believe everybody has a copy of the presentation in front of you. We're gonna keep it simple because we've already talked about a lot of this. Perfect. So I wanted to do a recap of when we talked about this holistically last, which was during a work session in November of 2022. At the time, Commissioner Cochran had put together information, kind of laying out a recommendation moving forward. One of the things it talked about was the responsibility of the city manager, the relationship between the city manager and the commission, given our form of judgment or form of government. We talked about the responsibility of the city manager. We talked about that performance evaluations are important because they give the city manager feedback. And we also talked about that performance evaluations should be constructive, and that they should be used to review past performance and provide a guidance for the future. We talked about that performance evaluations are not meant to be punitive, they're not meant to be negative, they should be evidence-based, acknowledging and highlighting successes and achievements. They help the commission examine and improve our own performance, as well as being tied directly to the city manager's goals. For example, are we providing clear information to the city manager about our needs, goals, and priorities? Are we fulfilling our job? So it's very much got to be a process that both the city commission and the city manager participate in. We've talked about the most recent performance reviews, so I wanted to go back 5 years to see when the evaluations were done and how they were done. So in 2020, you can see we conducted the review from January 2020 to January 2021. I do have some of the individual performance reviews. They included a performance review from the city manager, however, there was no summary report. Same thing for 2021, 2022, and 2023. This was the effort we went through with Sherwood Smith. So I would say that the 2022 and 2023 review, I don't want to say there were one review, but that was the period of time. So that review covered from June of 2022 to December of 2023. Moving forward, I would recommend that we review the city manager from January of the year to December of that same year. So it's a year long, it's the same every year. We don't have to question, is it done in January, is it done in July? I would say moving forward, this would be the time period that I would recommend. So next, I would recommend a timeline that we stick to every year. So that would start with naming a chair for the city manager's annual performance review. We haven't formally said I'm the chair, but that's kind of the role I've taken on this year. We do that at the first meeting of January. You can see off to your right, I have assigned a task to whether it's the chair, the city manager, the city commission. So then we have November 1st. The city manager submits their performance review to the chair. The materials are packaged together and sent to the commission. The performance reviews are sent back to the chair. A draft is sent to the commission members. And then we have the formal resolution at the first meeting of February. I would like your feedback on this timeline. We might want to consider doing something different during election years. Because if we're starting the review November 1st, that coincides with the November election. So we have people coming in, going out. That was a question I wanted to pose to the commissioners. The other thing that I wanted to do was name where the records for this performance review where they should be retained. And I think that's part of the challenge I faced when I went to look for past evaluations, is people aren't, is it the human resources, is it the treasurer, is it the city manager? So I would recommend moving forward that the office of the city clerk be responsible for retaining a record of the performance evaluation. There are several resources that we use when we review the city manager. We have the code of ordinances, the city charter, the job description for the city manager, the employment agreement, which we just signed not so long ago. We also have the non-bargaining pay scale, as there's a portion of this performance review that is tied to the annual salary increase. And then, as always, we have the previous year's performance evaluation. Reviewing all of those resources, to me, I wanted to group it into no more than 5 categories or components that we would evaluate the city manager based on. So there's finance and operations, personnel and leadership, community planning and development, public relations, and professional development. So finance and operations, directing and coordinating the operations of the city, attending city commission meetings, performing research, implementing policy, ordinances, programs, setting forth the budget, following the budget, updating us. There's several more bullet points. I didn't want to overwhelm people during what's supposed to be a summary study session. Leadership and personnel, overseeing administrative staff, providing leadership, providing direction. Community planning and development, establishing goals, talking about the strategic plan, putting together the capital improvement process, anything related to planning and development. Public relations, so representing the city to media, responses to inquiries from the community and approach to citizen complaints, participation in civic organizations, being proactive with regards to public relations, as the city manager did when he established a communications director position. And then coordination, collaboration with other governmental agencies such as the townships, the county, those types of agencies. And then professional development, we would want to see that the city manager stays abreast of legislation, regulatory developments, attends workshops, and continues to research and implement new methods in city management. Any questions about those 5 components or anything I've said up to this point? So then as we complete the review, one of the job of the chair will be to compile this information and present it to the city manager and the city commission, and all of these components will encompass what we'll call the annual performance review of the city manager. So there's an annual progress report by the city manager, a performance statement from the city manager. We as the commission should be developing goals and tasks for the city manager for the coming year. We as the commission should be filling out individual annual performance evaluations for the city commissioner. For the city manager. And then the actual annual review itself, if that tracks. Looks like this is a duplicate slide, so I apologize for that. Questions I have, should we include in the annual performance review feedback from the city manager's direct reports? Should we find a way to capture community feedback? And should we discuss the review annually in an open or a closed session? Next steps would be to confirm those 5 components for the city manager. Once those are confirmed, I will develop the actual evaluation for the city commission to fill out and distribute that. And then the timeline you see in front of you would be what I would propose for completing the 2024 evaluation. I gave us a little bit more time than we might need, just due to some other things I have going on outside of my role for the city. But that's it, like that's summarizing what has been a very complex and drawn out issue, so. Questions?
Do I get first dibs?
Go ahead.
I could never be the chairman of that committee ever in my days because there's too much. It's too much, especially to do yearly. Holy moly, there's a ton of stuff there, and everybody's gonna be doing the city manager's evaluation. Holy mackerel, every other year. I know, I'm sure the the commission that says yearly doesn't, Mark?
I think the contract says
Yeah,
that.
the contract says
So,
yearly.
I'm just after I reviewed what
Yeah.
you just wrote, I went, holy moly, that's gonna take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and by the time you finish it, you're gonna be doing the next year. It just seemed like a lot to me.
Yeah, I think putting it all on paper makes it seem like a lot, but ultimately it's really not any different than what we've been doing. A paper copy gets handed out to the commission, they fill it out. The city manager fills out his self-performance. What we didn't have someone doing before was summarizing all of that information, and that's because it fell to a different city employee, and we just said that's not their role. So I will admit that when you put it all together, it seems overwhelming, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's a huge task for one person. I think it's a task to get it set up, and maybe that's what you see.
Oh, and it is, that's for sure, that part's gonna be big. You're gonna create the form,
Yes,
because that was my first thought.
Yep.
Because that's what started this whole thing.
exactly, it's the form.
We did or didn't like the form.
Yep.
So, okay, that's good. Then, I was thinking as you were talking about election years, would it be easier for the chairperson to do this, not hurry at the end of the year?
That was something I wanted to
Yeah,
talk
You got the
about.
holidays, you got this, you got that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just thought, well, maybe, that was just my thought when I read it.
No,
Well, you
it-
could do it in March, April, it wouldn't make any darn difference,
Right.
right? Or would it?
I just had a question. So would the intent be that this, looking at the timeline here, we finalize the 2024 in 2026,
No, in
or we would do it
March of 2025.
Okay.
But it's for the period of January 2024 to December of 2024.
We're a little behind because
Oh,
we're just getting
okay,
it done.
so
So we'll
this
just
year
push
we
it a little bit
Yeah.
for this
cram it
year.
in.
Yeah, and then
Okay,
next
and
year,
then starting next year, it's
We
off
could
of
move it, or
the-
we could do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There could possibly be 3 new people next November 6th.
well, and if you think about it in terms of the hardest part is making the form that makes sense for all of
I
us.
think so.
And once we do that, let's say we do that this year and there's some feedback about tweaking it. When it's time to prepare the materials again, it's not gonna take that much time because in theory, all of the commission should know what the performance criteria are and should be keeping track of it throughout the year.
But the one of the subjects was each commissioner should write and present to someone what they think the city manager should be doing. That's in there somewhere, right? Our goals for the city manager.
Our goal, so think about that in terms of, as part of the evaluation, you should be providing feedback to the city manager. Not just checking a box and marking a number, you should be able, as a commissioner, as a mayor, provide 1 to 2 things, tangible things for the city manager.
Okay.
In terms of, think of it as a goal or a task for the year.
Commissioner, while you're on that slide, I can answer your third question there regarding open session.
Yeah, we talked about that so many times, haven't we?
Yeah, so you can't, under the Open Meetings Act, the only exemption to be able to go into closed session would be if Mark were to request that his review be considered in closed session, then you can.
Correct.
But the act says only if requested by the employee under review, so if he didn't request it, then there would be no authority to enter into closed session.
So then my recommendation for the packet that gets turned over to somebody is it's kind of a cheat sheet that answers some of our questions that we feel that we ask every year. So there would be an answer to that one.
I think it's wonderful if
So
you gotta really, hustle to get it done for 24. We're behind, and if you think you can do it, there's absolutely
well, right
nothing wrong
now, so yes, the timeline that I presented called for the evaluations to be sent out on Friday. So if these 5 components, essential components to the city manager's job, make sense to everyone, then the questions that you're going to be provided by Friday will be based on these 5 components.
And everything runs through the clerk, so we don't have to worry about any confidentiality issues, et cetera.
Well, no, anything, so the record keeping stays with the clerk. Our communication back and forth in terms of you would send the chair
Our
your evaluation,
direct to you.
yes. Because we should be able to talk about it amongst ourselves without wanting to be anonymous to each other.
So our first set of stuff would have been due December 31st if it were ready. But
Correct.
we're gonna have it due when for this one?
Let me go back
I can't
or
remember.
forward, I don't remember which one.
On the last page.
Last page.
Yep.
Where's my eyeball?
Yep.
February 4th.
And if you guys would like to move the timeline up at all, we
don't-
certainly can.
That's up to the group.
I mean, the point is that we're doing an evaluation, right? And then the point is that we take everything that we've learned since 2022, solidify it into what the process is going to be moving forward.
Just as one who isn't really, really well organized and all that stuff, it's not part of what I've ever done in my life. Somebody's gonna have to be reminding me, don't forget on the 4th, you gotta have your stuff in.
That's my job as the chair.
You're not gonna use Karen to be your whip in action.
No.
Okey dokey, as long as I know who's telling me what to do and when. I have a lot of trouble with that. You have any trouble with that, Lorraine?
No.
You like that, Diane?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, you're a tax writer.
Now, what I would say is if you need copies of materials to be printed, I would ask that the city clerk
Okay.
print those for you.
So there'll be a one-page cheat sheet that we can keep with us, or just keep this one with us?
What I would recommend is that we put something in the rules of procedure
Be fine with
with
me.
a couple of bullet points that outlines what we agreed upon, what the timeline is. And then we have it moving forward. If the rules of procedure seemed like the most logical place for me.
Very good. Others? David?
No, it seems, from, my experience being in retail and doing evaluations, I think this is probably the best way. And it doesn't make sense to do the period, January to December. Cause that's what you're looking at is that time period, is, but like you said, I think once you get it set up, that's gonna be the hardest part, is getting that piece that's set up. And then once you get that, then sync years should be a piece of cake, so.
Lorraine, anything? And Amanda?
My only thing is, I wish I would have known last year, so I could collect my thoughts, because this is a really busy time of year for me.
Busy
To
time. It is a
Be
busy
able to
time. That's why
commit
I
to
was
put the
wondering.
thought and effort into actually tabulating out an effective evaluation for him, without prior notice of the deadline being the 4th of February.
Well, and also, having it December 31st is real handy for me to, because
Right,
that wouldn't be high on the list of things I'd want to sit down and write some stuff
Right.
to mark.
right.
Yeah.
Pushing it would be good.
So I'm happy to adjust the timeline
Okay.
and whatever
did.
makes sense.
Yeah.
This being the first year, there's gonna be a learning curve.
Going forward,
Um,
I think it would be great,
Yeah,
because we'll know and we'll be able to plan and,
yeah.
case note accordingly.
Right, so, as for the date, to be, when your, evaluations are sent back to the chair, you guys let me know what you think is more realistic, and I'm happy to change it.
I have a couple of questions real quick. Is the committee, the performance review committee, the entire city commission? Is that the,
I don't know about that. I had a hard time saying what it was, other than that we should name someone to oversee the evaluation.
I think for open meeting act purposes, it's fine if it is, but then you just gotta be careful about the communications
Yeah,
internally. And then also, if you're going to be chair of it for this coming year, maybe it would be appropriate to have a vote to appoint you chair,
Yeah,
just formally.
we can have a motion, and
You could do that.
I think
So,
we should do a motion.
and so that's where I wasn't sure if it should be a committee or if there should be a chair, or I didn't quite know how to do that
You don't
part.
have to do it as a formal committee. I think it's the commission's prerogative, right?
Yep.
To do it in the contract, and he reports to the commission, so maybe it's just appointing a point person for the review process, and maybe that's.
That's, if that's legal, that's how it seems not natural to do.
Right.
Is it okay?
Yeah, I think you can do a motion to appoint commissioner, whoever, to
Okay.
oversee the review process and coordinate the reviews for the coming year, something like that, so.
And I'm happy, and I will do that for 2025, obviously.
Anything else for Karen?
And then I would just caution any communications you're having.
That's what I was worried about. We can't do round robins.
Yeah, you can't
Which
do
is
round
not
robin.
my
It's
intent.
gotta
I
go
think
directly to
up
Karen.
until this point, in terms of talking about this with each of you, I've sent individual emails to each of you, so.
Very good. I
So-
would entertain a motion to appoint Karen Simmon as the chair of the city manager group, or whatever you wanna call it.
I would second that motion if
I
we're,
can't make, well,
what motion? Okay.
I
well,
can, but I'd rather not.
I would, I will entertain that,
Move it.
I will move that motion.
Is there a second
I'll second it.
for the discussion on that particular
thing, not on the main.
Right.
You don't need a roll call. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. Motion
The,
carries.
the motion
Karen?
being that Karen, Commissioner Simmons is the
Oversees
chairperson.
the, yeah.
Go ahead, Amanda, I cut you off. You were talking about something else.
With the questions, I like the questions that you had on here. When,
Which question?
so should we include performance reviews from city managers, direct reports?
Oh,
Should we capture community feedback and should we, or should, well, that one was already answered, the third one was already answered.
I can give you my thought process on the direct report, question right now. Given this is new, given we're trying to solidify, the most important part, which is the city manager's evaluation, I would, recommend that we answer the, you know, if it's gonna include feedback from direct reports, after this evaluation is complete and we go through that. I can tell you in past evaluations, there has been, feedback. I think there's positives and negatives, and what I asked Mark to do is to put some thought into it. And, he and I will talk about that at one of our one-on-ones, and I'll share it with the rest of the commission. Or you can certainly talk to Mark about it yourself.
And my thoughts for the community feedback is that, I always love hearing what the community has to say about particular items, but this isn't really, it's our job to review, not the community's, and I would hesitate to open him up to, I mean, if somebody has a concern, they're gonna come to us regardless,
Right.
and then we're already using that as a part of our evaluation. So to have a formalized, that would be my only
I
hesitation
agree
there.
with that completely.
You know,
I
to have a
I get
formalized,
all the time.
Yeah.
because if you put it out there, people are gonna find something to complain about.
Don't they come to you? I get it all
Yeah.
the time. What
Yeah.
do you think of the city manager? He doing a good job?
But if they have a valid concern, they find you,
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
regardless of if you're asking them to or not. So, you know,
I agree with you.
Okay.
I put it on there because it was one of those unanswered questions from last time.
I think we
that
get
was my
plenty
2
of
cents
feedback
on that
from the
specific
community.
one.
Okay,
Very good.
okay.
Nice, Karen, thank you. You're
Thank
doing
you.
more work now, Karen, again.
It's work I, volunteered to do, Mayor.
This first one is gonna be lots of work, I think, anyway. Thank you. Now, we will go to public comment. Oh, we do have Rosemary. We thought you weren't coming today.
Well, my comment is, I was late and it's cold outside.
You're right. 10A is gone. Skate park rules, please. Heather's not here. Who's gonna do that?
I'll tackle it, Mayor.
Alright,
So, we have a set of rules that listed in this resolution. I think you also have some minutes from the Park and Rec Board and a position paper from Heather. I know she consulted, some of the leadership of the group who's, the grassroots group, who has, really been behind the skate park. She consulted with them. I know the Park and Rec Board has studied these. They seem pretty basic, but we do think they're important to just, have their posted reminders as much as anything. Commissioner Rhodes pointed out to me when we met, today, we had a meeting this afternoon, the question was, when it says no smoking, does that apply to, vaping as an example? We had changed the ordinance, and Brad, maybe you can help us remember how that applies?
Yeah, so you recently amended the ordinance for smoking in the park so that rather than the previous way, which was listing specific parks, it just had a general, if you post no smoking in the park, then within the 25-foot, I believe it was radius, they can't be smoking, and if it is, then they can be cited as a violation, so.
But, and then smoking is not just smoking a cigarette. it's-
Right, we redefined smoking to be vaping and any type of
so it's
smoking.
there.
So that's what I have, Mayor, a set of rules to be posted at our skate park.
is there a motion for that resolution?
So moved.
Second,
There's a motion and a second.
Further questions? Who enforces that? The police?
Yes.
I mean,
on a complaint basis,
so yes, The caveat I have with this is the rules that are connected to an ordinance, like the smoking, are enforceable. The ones that are not connected to an ordinance, less likely that they're enforceable. It's more of a reminder, but we can in a later time, if it becomes an issue, enact an ordinance to enforce those rules. But certain ones of those are not tied to any ordinance, like being rude. How do you determine who's being rude?
Or helmet is recommended,
Right,
certainly,
that-
that nobody can make them wear a helmet.
Right,
But-
exactly.
My only follow-up thought is if there is an issue with the no smoking and people are saying, well, it doesn't say no vaping, then we might want to add some clarifying language, because I wouldn't expect people out in our parks to know the exact verbiage of our ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't excuse them from it being enforced under the law, but it wouldn't hurt for the signs to maybe say no smoking / vaping or something like that.
If it becomes a problem.
Right.
Karen, please.
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I was waiting.
I was writing a little bit.
Next, resolution approving the acceptance of the State of Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity Grant for firefighting personal protective equipment.
Please.
Well, didn't we just do a bunch of this?
Yes.
This is just more of the same?
It is. It'll be in addition to what we purchased in 2021. So, however, it will be the same sets of gear, same type of gear. I've actually been in front of you for a couple different types of turnout gear in the past few years as well. In 2021, we did full ensemble turnout gear, which is what this grant helps augment and cover. And then we also did the light duty gear that worked for wildfires and extrication and things like that. And that was the last one that we demoed for you guys. But yeah, if it's all right, I'll cover both the next two resolutions here. But we applied in May of last year, last year. We applied to this grant for turnout gear. It was an initiative, I believe it was $15 million total that they were giving to full-time firefighters in grant. It was a no-match grant for the purpose of purchasing an additional set of turnout gear. The reason for that, as I indicated in my position paper, is because full-time firefighters, when they fight a fire early in the shift, they have to have that gear with them for the rest of the remaining part of the shift. So they're not able to launder it like our procedure says until the end of their shift. So they're having to put that dirty turnout gear on multiple times. And that turnout gear, until it's laundered, can carry around carcinogens, can expose the firefighters to unnecessary things like that. And we're finding more and more in the science and the health and safety of it that's very high risk for our jobs. So anyways, that was the main intention behind the grant, was to see that departments are able to afford to purchase a second set of turnout gear, so they can use their one, launder that, switch into their other gear while they finish out their shift, and have that backup set. So the turnout gear, each for just the pants and the coat, is $3,700 per set. So it's most definitely not cheap. So this grant helps augment that cost. The award was for $3,500 towards that $3,700. So there is some additional that we have to come up with. We are planning to cover that within our line item budget for turnout gear, protective gear, where we budget purchasing turnout gear on a revolving set as well. So this total grant would be $31,500 is what we received, and it would purchase 9 sets of this gear. So it's a no-match grant. I think it's a great opportunity, and so the first resolution would be accepting that grant and authorizing me to sign and accept that. And then the next one would be to award then the bid to Dingus Fire Supply. The bid there, the bid tab, we went out to bid, received 2 bids back, one from Dingus Fire, one from Allied Fire. Allied Fire Gear, they bid a turnout gear called Inatex. We did demo Inatex back in 2021 when we went with Lion Apparel, which is what Dingus has. So to keep consistent with all of our turnout gear that we currently have, as well as that 15 set project we did back in 2021, we're recommending to award it to Dingus Fire Supply. Be happy to answer any questions.
So is that laundered by the fireman himself in your place?
Yes. Yep, we have a turnout gear, it's an extractor, turnout gear washer. It looks like a giant commercial, washing machine, basically. And it not only washes the turnout gear, but it also, pulls things out of it, so it can pull materials out. It also, biohazards, things like that, we get car accidents, get blood on it, it'll extract that as well. So, but yeah, we can do that in-house.
Very good.
And the standard is to, I'll also add, the standard is, nationwide is to move departments towards having 2 sets of turnout gear for all firefighters. So this is a good step in that direction, but it is costly to do so.
This particular one's for the full-timers.
It is for the full-time only, yeah.
Part-timers don't get that option.
Unfortunately, they don't qualify under this. And to note, we did submit, when we submitted in May, we also included myself on that, it being full-time as well, and they had even denied myself on that. They said chiefs don't qualify, so that's fine. So we amended them out to 31.5.
Thank you, Steve. Others, questions? Then we're gonna go for 10C first. I'm not gonna reread that whole resolution again. It's for the firefighting gear.
So moved.
Second.
Further questions? So for 10C, Karen?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmon,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Now we're gonna go do 10D, which is the actual acceptance of the bid for the personal protective equipment. 10D, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Further questions regarding that?
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmon,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Go home. Steve? Go home. All right. Next is a resolution to apply for state formula operating assistance. This is for DART. Mark, anything there different? It comes every year, it seems like.
It does, yeah, and you have to do an intent to apply, that's what this is, for both the state and federal funding. You'll notice, projecting the state funding to be down, this year, down from the 35 basically to 30. Those are sort of rounding up or some, but, yeah, that's I think we're gonna face those types of things, and here's an example of it, but, no, certainly we do this every year. This is a major part of the funding for our dial ride system, both the state and federal government, and this is our intent to apply to both.
Is there a motion for that resolution? 10E.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Further questions? Karen?
Simmon,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes?
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Mark, I haven't asked you in a long time. We went to 2 meetings regarding possible talks between Moda and DART. Is that all dried up and gone?
I think it's withered. I don't know if it's completely dried up, but, yeah, we haven't had those discussions in a while, and I can make an effort to, well, sort of try again. I'm happy to do that, Mayor. But you're right, we haven't had that discussion in some time.
All right, next, remember those VFDs that we replaced on an emergent basis? There they are now, approving Mark bought them.
Right.
And now this is just retroactively approving that purchase. We already did an emergency.
This is a required step in the emergency purchases to report back. And we bought them, they were at the same amount as that was proposed, and the blowers are running, so.
That's, resolution 10F. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a second. Is there further questions? Everything went as planned, right, Mark?
That's right.
Karen?
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmon,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Karen thought we could just do rules of procedure here. Do we have any, other unscheduled business? Mark, you had something you were gonna bring up.
I had 2 things. One's quick FYI, we opened, if you remember back, the commission directed Steve and I to go out to bid for fire trucks. And we were gonna do it in 2 different ways. We were gonna bid just a chassis, because that's a lead time thing, and we were gonna bid a full truck. Those bids were open today at 2. We received 1 bid for a complete vehicle. And the only bidder was, I think, $769,000. And they will cut $30,000 off if you pay it upfront.
The entire amount? The entire
Yeah,
amount
the
up
entire
front?
amount, yeah, the seven, so that would make it $739. I think that's a bit higher than I was hoping for. I know Steve has some plans to maybe try and then find some other bidders, extend deadlines, look at things in the bid that maybe we could take out. So we have a plan, I just wanted to report back that we have a bid.
How long is that good for, that reduction of that 30,000?
Oh, I'll have to
Sure, I'd have to look
study
at
that. Yeah,
You might want your city treasurer to take a look at that and see about financing that, how short-term it can be financed, what the interest rate is, what the interest would cost us, and would it be less than $30,000?
okay, I'm on it.
Okay?
Yep. That was one thing. The other thing was, we're looking at the date of February 26th for our strategic planning evening. That doesn't work. That, Commissioner Johnson has something popped up in her schedule that doesn't allow that to happen, and I don't think it's right for one.
We need to all be
We
there.
need to all be
We're
there.
gonna do this.
Right, so, we're looking at other dates. I know Michelle has broached that topic with you maybe via email. We looked at March 5th and 6th.
The 27th, which is what I emailed you about, also does not work for someone.
Yeah, David, they can't make.
Don't send them out anymore, till you.
I didn't send out an invite, but I have to try to figure out a date.
Right.
So,
So we were hoping while we were sitting here, I don't know how much you have access to calendars and things, but maybe we were talking about the next week, which is March 5th or 6th.
Have we got a meeting on Monday?
Yes, the 3rd.
The 3rd?
Yes.
So was I thought I read an
We could do it
email.
next year.
No.
And Mayor, we don't need to answer that too much. It's just something help us find a date, please.
Anytime in March would be better for me than February.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Then Amanda and David, who can't come on the normal days, should be the ones to find the date then, hey, David?
I'm good as long as it's not the
20s.
the 27th or the the third week of March because of robotics. I'll be going to LSSU.
Yeah, this is a day job conflict for me
It's,
also.
I don't need to hear it. Just teasing with
Hey,
you.
I'm a tax accountant, I'm just sitting here listening to you all, so I don't feel any sympathy for any of you. Just give me a date.
Well, we're looking at March 5th, please.
What's tax day, April 15th?
What day of the week?
April 15th day.
April 14th.
March 5th, is that what we're looking at?
March
That's a
5th.
Wednesday?
March 5th is the next Wednesday, yes.
The only other thing I would recommend is if there's a conflict and this room is not available, let's just do it at public safety. I understand why we would wanna use this room because there's the camera set up and audio and all that kind of stuff, but rather than push it out again, I would say, let's find the first available date, and if this room isn't available, just take it to public safety.
And my question, is there a way for us to record audio only over in that building? I know there's not a camera set up, but is there an effective way for us to like mic up and record audio and put it on YouTube?
Guys, we're in like a squares area. I mean, all you need is a phone.
Okay. I know it wouldn't be as good of a quality as what we get in this room, but that way the public would still know it's transparent.
The quality on phones are pretty good. I can look into other
We
audio.
can tackle that too. Let's how about March 5th? Please check your calendars.
Have you talked to the,
I have not.
that
but
might
I-
be important.
I know, but I also didn't want us to take
You're right,
15 days
you
to.
get her to agree to another date and then it doesn't work here. It's a little bit of a chicken or the egg.
Are we making Brad come to this?
Oh.
Just put it on my calendar. The only thing
Is
on my
it
calendar is
covered under
it's
the
Ash
annual fee
Wednesday, if
terminal?
that matters to anybody.
Well, that's Ash Wednesday.
Wednesday he charged.
Michelle, I can get back to you by tomorrow to confirm if it shouldn't be a problem for
Part of his normal duties.
Yeah, he said it's covered.
Oh, good. Is this one of these dates that I should write down chocolate cake too?
We
Yeah.
are doing food.
We're doing it a little differently after we met with the consultant on that the staff is going to do, 3:30 to 5:30, so that they can then go home and not
I love
spend
it.
and then we'll come in at 5:30 and do our thing, and then it'll be her or Michelle's obligation to put them together to see if there needs to be a joint meeting or not.
And I would say it's not necessary for me to have food during the meeting for us. I don't need,
5:30 till 8:30?
I'm
That's
saying,
I would,
I don't need a full meal is what I'm saying. I,
They got that covered. I made an executive decision on food.
I've got to pay
That's all I have, Mayor.
I have 10
Others?
minutes, I have 10 minutes between working my day job and having that
Yeah,
meeting, so I would have to demand food. There's no way that would work.
Let's have any unscheduled business.
Well, I do. I have a question, and I think I've asked this. The Charter Revision Committee has gone over in depth, apparently, the section on purchasing, which it's in the charter now.
correct.
So the thought process is it not be in the charter and we address it through an ordinance. So it is easy to change when it needs
I
to be
agree.
changed.
Instead of going to the public.
Instead of, okay, so my question is, it wouldn't do us any good to do that now, Brad, right? They would have to like recommend to take it out of the charter first
Correct, yeah, you
for
can't,
this to actually be in play.
right.
So, but my next question is there anything we can do as a governing body that if we agree with the things that I'm saying, that we could somehow express that to the Charter Commission to please delete it?
Yeah, you're,
If everybody would be in agreement.
you're absolutely welcome to submit ideas to the Charter Review Commission. I think that's encouraged. They have called one special meeting to get your input. I think they would want your input on this. So it would be perfectly appropriate to make a resolution recommending, or, you know, if you wanna make it formal, right, to just communicate privately with the Charter Review Commission, however you wanna do it. But your input would be valuable to them, so it would be appropriate to
Well,
do.
I guess I'd like to know what everybody.
Yeah, I think it's easier to, update ordinances than it is a charter. And it's not just that we can more easily update it, you know, there's much more, ability for the public to provide feedback and, you know, so I would be in favor of that. When was the last time we met with the Charter Commission?
Didn't we have
Term
that one?
limits.
It was back in July,
Term
'cause-
limits, back in July, we
Yeah.
had a one.
I left the charter to join you guys.
And that's when we met, David?
Yep.
Was
Right,
July of
yeah,
21.
July, yep. It was my first meeting with you
Can
guys.
you write a position paper on that if all the commissioners agree?
Oh, sure.
Because I would agree completely that the crazy thing is the 7,500 limit that we have.
It's pretty
has been
tough on
going
some things.
It's been going on since
Well, when was the last time
before
we did
time,
it?
at least
Yeah.
12 years ago.
Okay.
And it'd be so much easier if 4 of the 5 of us said, yes, raise it to 10,000, we could just do it.
Yeah,
And
and
that
something
might-
about emergency, I wanna do something about emergency, expenditures.
It might be a
The other
resolution, to make it formal, it might be a resolution
Yeah.
recommending these
Yeah.
provisions be, you know, something like that.
So-
that's in writing.
But Mark could do the position paper,
Yeah.
which would result in a
In a
resolution.
resolution.
Are these two okay?
Yeah, I didn't hear it yet.
Yeah,
I'm amenable to it, so.
I know as part of the discussion when I was still in the charter revision was about the purchasing and, a former city clerk mentioned that was something, you know, sometimes a little ridiculous, the limits that they put on it, and so, yeah.
Okay, could you, Mark?
Happy to. So, just so I'm clear, Mayor, I write a position paper that comes back to your next meeting, and then you vote?
I
Is that
would
what
say
Well, I think so.
we'll be
Could we have
ready.
the resolution with it
Okay.
too?
Have it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, yep.
Okay,
Have
so
it
I think
all
we're
together.
ready.
Sure. Yeah, happy to do it.
Thank you. I think that's all I had.
There was something else I was gonna bring up on it. I can't remember.
For unscheduled business, if we're still on that.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Next month kicks off Festival of the Arts for City of Big Rapids. And there are lots of wonderful events that have been scheduled on the calendar. So keep your eyes posted to the website and the Facebook page for updates on that. But lots of fun things to do, get
Looked
you,
like a good year.
it's,
A real different year.
Yeah.
Good.
we're using some new venues,
Oh, good.
which is nice too, kind of branching out into new spaces.
Now, did, they do a booklet this year again,
It's out.
or?
It's
is
in
it-
the lobby.
It came out, I think Friday or Thursday. Steve, I'm not gonna mention any names whatsoever. Nobody here probably knows names of how your firefighter's doing. If that's illegal to ask, shut me up, but we don't need to know names, but I had heard a firefighter was in jeopardy, how,
He continues to recover, and it's a good sign.
good, good. Anything else? Oh, yeah, we gotta do that last thing, rules and regulations, rules and procedures. Karen, you lead that one.
So I emailed out the rules of procedure. Lorraine had sent, Commissioner James had sent a couple of proposed changes. I did not include them in this because I was under the impression that you wanted to see it kind of clean. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to, have you reviewed it? You wanna go section by section?
If we could just, first of all, can we add page numbers?
Absolutely. After,
That would be great.
yeah.
And then, I did not bring my copy that had Commissioner James's edits in it, so maybe you could,
I've got
point
it
those
right
out
in
to
front of
me.
me.
Okay, so if we go page by page and you could point that out, that would be great.
I mean, I just have small kind of clerical things to change, add a comma here, that sort of a thing. I mean, it's really up, this is your document, so you tell
Right.
me if you want something changed. Page 1, do you see anything on here that you,
Just the page number.
yep, well, that's easy. Page 2, well, what would be considered page 2, number 7 through 10. The place of meetings, time of the meeting. Now, this is one thing, number 8, that Commissioner James had requested. This says, on second line, the commission shall not take up any item on the agenda after the hour of 10 PM. He had asked if we could move that until 9 PM.
I mean, if you can't get business done in 2.5 hours, there's something wrong. This resorts back to many years ago when there's a commissioner that liked to carry the meetings on till 11 o'clock at night. So they put this in the rules of order to make it stop at 10.
I won't be here at 10, I can tell you that.
Good with 9?
I'm okay with 9.
I'm okay with that also.
I'm long in bed by then.
That's,
Specifically
Because-
because unless there's unanimous consent, so obviously if there's something that's pressing enough where we're staying that late, we can all agree to do it anyways.
There you go.
But it discourages it.
oh, yep.
Very good,
Okay.
Commissioner James, very good. Fine work, by the way.
So public notice of regular meetings, any of these special meetings, schedule changes? Emergency meetings? Everybody's all got all that, quorums?
Brad, did you review these?
Yeah, I reviewed them. I have one suggested edit. If we're going page by page, I'll
Okay.
wait until we get there.
So on this page, number 18, Commissioner James did ask, the items not being considered as part of the regular meeting agenda may be added upon unanimous consent of the members present. These items shall be placed on the agenda under unscheduled business. You had said,
We're not doing this.
that we're not doing that.
Well, like when I asked for a motion to appoint Karen as the review, theoretically, we should have unanimous consent to put that on the agenda and then do it. How
Yeah,
about we
either
just
that or
did it?
take this out. I mean, I wouldn't care if it wasn't in there, but it just, I read it and I said, but we're not doing this.
Brad, what do you think?
Taking out B.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes,
18B.
Because there's already a mechanism for it.
right.
Just do it.
You just do
Just
it.
do it.
Right.
This
Yeah.
doesn't.
Is that
do
agreeable?
This
anything.
will tie into my suggested change later, but yes, you can.
Take it
Oh,
out?
that's okay?
Take it out.
Perfect.
It's
I
in
had
Robert's
one-
rules, you can always make a motion.
I had one more, right, Karen, in
Yeah.
19?
Oh,
19.
yeah, I have one for 19 too.
Okay,
I recommended Thursday instead of Friday.
Wait, I thought we updated this last year to include Wednesday or Thursday.
I mean, my comment to Mark was, if,
Yeah, it was
It-
never
it-
Friday.
you know, if staff is supposed to have it to her by whatever date, then make them responsible to get it to her by whatever date.
Oh, no, yeah, we do.
it
we've
used
changed
to be Friday, and it
always
was
Friday.
changed to like, I
We did
changed it to
Wednesday and then we
Right,
did
just last
Thursday,
year.
so
That's why
No
this.
way.
Wednesday or
changed last
Thursday is
year.
Friday.
So that's why the
did it get
Friday is
changed?
still in there?
Because we did Thursdays after.
It must have been after the
Yeah.
After we
rules
pass
of
this?
procedure, yeah.
Okay,
So change it to Thursday?
Please.
okay.
The other thing in the last full line there by personal delivery, I thought we struck that a couple of years ago as well. We do not need staff to deliver, meeting materials personally.
Also, it says by personal delivery or electronic means, do you want, I mean,
It's always electronic now.
right, which means he's still allowed to do that as it's written, that just gives him the option to personally deliver it if you happen to be walking down the hall, so if you take that out, I mean, it's up to you, you don't have to, it's more inclusive the way it is.
I see.
Or does it mean by personal delivery, I don't have a computer, so I come to City Hall to get the packet?
Right.
That's considered personal delivery, right?
Correct, yeah.
So maybe
Alright.
that
So
should,
leave that in.
see, back in the
What
day,
if we say back in the day,
Decades
I'm
ago.
aware, no, it wasn't that long ago.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I would rather it say, or for pickup at City Hall than personal delivery.
That's fine.
That's good.
Because
I don't know.
it could be, yeah, cause when I came in 2021, there were still some that were.
The only question I would
Well, I was
have,
not aware of that.
the only question I would have is this would not prohibit city staff from personally delivering it to your hospital room or your wherever if you're unable to come collect it or get access to it, correct? It's not, it's removing the
I think
requirement
that's
to
an
do it.
exception, not a rule.
Not-
Yeah, but then you'd
Okay.
have somebody else that could do it for you.
This is getting dull.
Yeah, this is getting
Yeah.
kinda, I mean, it used to be the city clerk got in her vehicle and she drove up to everybody on the city
We used
commission.
to,
Yes.
that's the way we used to do it.
That's the
all.
way it
Yeah.
used to be. And
That
then
sounds good to
as
me.
times changed and we got more digital and things just changed.
I would rather it not say personal delivery and say pick up at City Hall.
Put it whatever way you want, Karen.
However you need to phrase it to,
You know what the
So, for your study sessions, work sessions, meetings.
Every
What's
year,
that?
Mayor.
Every year.
Years go by fast.
And then if anybody has anything else?
I think, Mayor, it feels like it because we spent so much time on
We
it
did last time.
during your,
Yeah, during,
During your
what page
term.
are you on, Karen?
shut up.
Well, I just switched from number 26 over to number 27, disorderly conduct.
Okay.
Media reporting responsibility. I will make these pages flow a little nicer too, but. Public access to meeting records, publication of minutes.
Excuse me.
Brad, do you have anything for any of this? Requiring 2/3 votes.
And why is 33 so confusing? Can you explain that, Brian? I didn't comment on that, cause to me, it's just, it says executive sessions requiring majority vote. And then it goes on and says the commission may meet in executive session for the following purposes without the requirement of a 2/3 vote. So, I don't know, is there any way to make that, clearer?
I mean, you could just say executive sessions shall be consistent with the Open Meetings Act.
Well, that would work for me, cause
That's a
I
lot
tell you
easier.
what.
Yeah, because what's the executive
It's closed session, executive
Closed.
executive session means closed session.
It's closed
Oh.
session,
There's only a handful of things you can do it
Right,
for.
and it, right,
It's governed by the Open Meetings Act anyway, so.
So then why
I
not
have one.
just
One
take,
I'm sitting here.
I mean, you could just put executive sessions or closed session meetings shall be consistent or
With the
in
Open
accordance with the
Meetings
Open Meetings Act.
okay.
and then, so does that mean
I would take out
32 and 33?
33, 34.
30, oh, cause, all meeting minutes need to be, okay, got it.
32. So take out 33 and 34 is what you just
Take out
said?
32, 33, and then, well, 34, let me see.
Brad, you'll give her,
Yeah,
you'll give
Take-
her a write-up
take
or
out-
what.
Take out 34 too.
Okay.
I mean, the way we handle it in practicality, if you were to go into closed session, I would take the minutes, I would deliver them under seal to the clerk would have them, and then they're just kept for a year and then destroyed, so they're kept separately from other minutes.
Thank God you have worked out.
So motions, orders of motions, non-debatable motions, procedural motions, motions to reconsider.
So my change is on 41, parliamentary practice rules.
Okay,
I would say instead of the rules of parliamentary practice as contained in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules shall govern, I would just say shall be a guideline for the commission in all cases.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because if you say they shall govern and you don't follow Robert's Rules, which is a book this thick, then somebody could try and invalidate one of your actions as, well, you didn't follow Robert's Rules and it says you shall govern. So just say shall be a guideline for.
That person who came and talked to us all
Right,
said that for sure.
right,
It's just a guidance, it's not.
right.
Good pickup, Brad.
Thank you.
Fine work.
is that it? Yes, anything?
And so, we will have that as an action item, the rules of procedure as an action item at our next meeting. With
Watch
those
that
changes.
next meeting, it's getting pretty thick,
Yes, it is.
so things can move around this
Yeah, yeah, or the next.
little. Oh, there's a lot on the next agenda.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a number of things. We have 2 work sessions, as I mentioned.
Yes.
that's not, we decided not to do that to each other.
Scold your other commissioner then.
We can put that in the rules of procedure.
What's the?
I actually thought it was in there that we,
Well, the 2 that we have, and yeah, I'm happy to do what you folks obviously think is best, is we had, the one that we had the 6 or 8 different ordinance changes about compliance. From our last meeting, we put on a work session at the first meeting in February. And then Commissioner Johnson had asked me to have a session on there where you could talk about, trainings and MML events and that kind of stuff that you were gonna go to.
Generally speaking, it's a good idea for us to think about it now for budgeting purposes going into the budgeting procedure. Make sure that we know who wants to go, who's planning on going to certain events, so we can plan accordingly and not have to move money around. And make sure that the commissioners get the training they need.
is
To be
there a
effective.
list of all of the training opportunities?
It's all on the MML website, which I can either provide or I believe Karen would be able to have access to that too. They actually put it out at the convention the next calendar year, so it's been out since last year on their website.
So that one could actually be moved to a different meeting.
It could be moved to a different meeting, but mostly it's just a, hey, this is what this is. Anything look like you actually wanna show up to it? And if it's yes, we put a check next to your name and we know to budget for it. Because the pricing's out there now too. So then that gives them the numbers to say, okay, well, we have everybody wanting to go to this one thing. We know it's gonna cost this much money, maybe they can't do this, or however that goes.
I will go on and print out that list and email it to all of you.
Okay.
Would that be helpful so you can see it in advance?
You're right, Mayor, there's a lot on there, so.
So I'm just, so I'm not trying to take another commissioner's space on the meeting, just hearing what that work session is and how brief it is. I wonder if
It didn't-
what we all just talked about may have covered it.
It could be as simple as a study session where we're actually, it doesn't need to be a big work session because a lot of it comes down to what does your schedule look like this year and what do you want to attend? And you're gonna have to think about that and plan for that, and it doesn't necessarily mean you can't go to it, but it would be nice if the staff had the knowledge ahead of time to make sure that we have the funds available and the resources available to do it, and it's not putting them in a bind.
Is it stated somewhere in the policy about what you pay for, what you don't pay for, and how far away and all that? I'd like to go to the mayor's meeting in Hawaii if you'll pick it up.
We have a travel policy that does talk about out-of-state travel.
We also have a budget set up for training commission mayor. If I remember correctly, that's how we handled that, was,
think the
by
city
putting
attorney
together a
conference is
budget.
next door to that.
Anything else? Good of the group? Anybody? Tell your firefighter the commission's thinking of him,
Them,
please.
them,
No?
them.
I thought he said M, not him.
Oh,
M. Thinking of like
They're
them.
confusing. I know.
I'll explain it to you after the
know him.
meeting, Mom.
Drive safe, man.